All right, guys, for today, I'm going to run through the plan for today on this Google Slide presentation and have you guys watch it and then complete the tasks as requested. So let's take a look. So here's our schedule. Got a variety of things I want to take care of today. We'll do a post-teaching discussion, given that we've all finished our changes of state teaching projects, and so there's 4 questions there that I want you to spend some time thinking about and answering. Then we'll spend time looking at the tests that your students did, and then we'll look at your guys' answer key that you finished as homework and start scoring those tests. And so you'll get an opportunity to see what it's like to grade tests by your students. When you're done with the tests, I'm going to have you guys show me your grades so that I can take a look and see if I agree with what you gave your students as scores. And then once we're both happy with those, we'll take a look at the scores and analyze them, and we'll have a little formative assessment since analyzing data is part of the reporting standards in class. And then you do have a little bit of homework to prepare for next class as well. So with the post-teaching discussion, what I would like you guys to do is get together with a 5 o'clock partner and go over the 4 questions here. So communicate with your 5 o'clock partner. What did you enjoy about the teaching project? What about the project helped you understand the changes of state, either as a teacher or as a student? So what parts helped you leave that project knowing a bit more about those processes? What are some things that could have been improved? Because it's important to pay attention to the fact that you're probably going to present in the future. And so how can you be a better presenter? It's important to consider. How might it be improved? Okay, so if there's something, if you think that they should have shown more models, or if you could have shown more models, how might you do that? So not only considering what can be improved, but start thinking about how could it be done in the future. And then the last part, what part will you need to spend more time studying up on for the summative assessment? So let's say that your classmates taught you about evaporation. Maybe you don't know so much about it. What do you, as a student, now need to do to better prepare yourself to understand that change of state, given that the teaching is all finished? And so now it's kind of independent work. What are you going to do now that your teacher is not teaching you anymore? When you're done with these 4 questions with your 5 o'clock partner, go ahead and write down some bullet point responses on the whiteboard in the back of the room. Okay? But keep in mind, I do want you to discuss first and then write on the whiteboard. Okay, so this shouldn't be a 1-minute activity. This should take a bit of time. When you're done with that, I want you to start the grading process, okay? You might struggle with this, but I'm here to help. You're going to take your answer key that you created as homework, and then you're going to get your stack of students' tests back from me. I will give them back to you. And then you're basically going to start grading and experience what that's like looking for information on those tests, okay? When you are done with the grading, and you've circled all of the points on the rubric. Remember, the rubric should be part of your tests, okay? So the rubric, let me show you an example. Hiding the name, right? That rubric there, you should have 3 things circled for M, A, D, or E. So when you're done with all of your tests, which is probably 2, 3, 4 tests, you're going to show me, and then I'm going to glance at it, and then if we're both happy, then we can move on to the next step. The next step will be analyzing your worksheet, your students' tests. Okay, you're analyzing the data, which is your students' scores. Okay, and the worksheet that I'm going to have you work on for this is going to be a paper copy, but I have an example of what it looks like here. So the paper copies will be available in class on the white table in the middle of the room. You're basically going to be doing some analyzing and interpreting of data, okay? And so this will be a chance to work on this reporting standard. I've come up with 3 things to do to analyze and understand your student data. One of them is to compare and contrast the student scores from each other, okay? So let's say you have Billy's test and Bob's test. Well, what was similar about their tests? Okay, and then what was different about their tests? This will help you understand as a teacher what you could have improved on, right? If everyone if you're finding a similarity in all the scores, then that's probably an indicator that your teaching probably needs a little bit of help in that area. Okay. And then you're going to look, another way of analyzing or interpreting data is to look at the cause and effect of something. Okay, and so the data here is your students' work, and so that is the effect of your teaching, right? And so the cause is something that you did in your teaching that allowed those scores to happen, right? If the effect is an approaching grade, then I want you to look at what caused that to happen. Okay, so you're going to have to think back and reflect on your teaching activity. And then the last thing I want you to do is make a bar graph. This is another way of analyzing and interpreting data, because once you have it in graph form, it's very easy to look at and find patterns, and it's easy to visualize and see what's going on when you graph it. I'm going to let you guys come up with how you want to make your bar graph. It's basically very open-ended. I want to see what you guys come up with. I'm assuming that you've made bar graphs in the past, and so feel free to kind of create this however you think makes the most sense to analyze the data. Okay, this is your test, it's your topic. How can you make a graph out of this to understand what's going on better and easier? Okay, so there's that worksheet. There's also a portion on the back that I want you to work on while everyone else is finishing. So I don't want you to, when you're done with this, I don't want you to move on to anything else. I want you to flip this worksheet on the back side, and it's going to get you thinking about how could you, I can just show you the test, or I can show you the back of the worksheet. Here we go. So here we go. So if people at your table are still grading, I want you to think about ways that you could improve their understanding. Okay? So given that you've reflected on the data, I want you to think about, okay, how could I have explained heat, energy, and conduction better during my teaching process? Next question, how could you model what's happening better in your state change? And then the last one, how could you show what's happening on a molecular level better? Okay, so I want you to work on these 3 questions if you finish the front side, which is this, if you finish that early. Okay. And then homework. Homework, if we don't have time, because it's a short class today, we only have an hour-long class today on Friday. And so if you don't finish the worksheet, I want you to do that as homework and bring it in on Tuesday. Next thing I'd like you to do is prepare for the redo of all of your summative assessments, or all of your tests that you took from your classmates. We'll do all the redos at once on Tuesday, okay, next class. And so if you taught evaporation, you are going to get all 3 of the other state change tests to redo at one time. Okay, so if you taught evaporation, then you're going to work on condensation, melting, and freezing tests all at once, and then submit it to me as a summative assessment for this project. Okay, and then I'll grade those, and then those rubric scores will affect your report card. And then the last thing I want you to do in order to I want you to utilize your teacher, your student teacher, a little bit in between classes. And so there's on Google Classroom, we can jump there and I'll show you. But on Google Classroom, I made a little dialogue discussion opportunity here in order to get the teachers to be able to respond to things that the students were still confused about, okay? And so go ahead and read the directions on Google Classroom here before the end of the day. Let me know if you have any questions. But I want you to create a dialogue where you guys are talking to each other and clarifying anything you don't understand with each other. And then I'll be an observer looking at the conversation and the dialogue from my point of view and making any feedback that I think teachers maybe aren't explaining correctly. I can be there to answer and clarify any of those things. Okay? And so let's just go through this one more time real quick. So you're going to have a discussion on the teaching project, and then you're going to answer these questions on the back whiteboard. You're going to grade student tests using your answer key, and then you're going to bring them to me so that I can look at them for accuracy. You're then going to analyze your student scores by doing several things. And then basically you're going to prepare for the final summative assessment redo of the tests that you will take next class. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, and you can complete the first task for today.